All right, so I'm outside of the 2021 Honda Insight LX Hybrid. So this is going to be your entry-level model. To give you a start off, this is your baseline model. It's got 151 horsepower under the hood. This resembles a lot of the look of a Honda Civic. And to be honest, it really is. You're giving up 20 horsepower under the hood, but you're gaining an extra 20 miles per gallon in the city, an extra 7 when you're moving out onto the highway. So just to give you kind of a start, and then we'll go through some other features here. It's got a standard 17-inch wheel on it. It's painted alloy. When you move around to the front of the car, it is LED daytime running lights, and then you got your headlights set up. You've got a nice chrome grille finish here with the black touches underneath. As you move up, I'll just point out a couple things. You can see a trapezoid shape right there cut into the tent. And what that is a camera. This car is set up with Honda sensing. So you're gonna have radar poked in right behind the H on the grill, and then you're gonna have a camera posted up there. And I'll go over what those features are and how they work when we hop into the car. Since it is a hybrid vehicle, it is gonna be badged on the front and the back of the car, so you'll notice that right there. Then when we get to the back of the car, you'll see something too. As we move around, it has breakaway mirrors, so as far as that goes, you don't have to worry about that. They will break away, so you don't have to worry about somebody hitting them with a shopping cart or anything like that. Now, if you're thinking, hey, I'm looking at the LX, what do I get when I move up a model? Well, if you wanted blind spot monitoring in those mirrors, that would be something you would want. If you were moving up, you would be also getting a 7-inch display touchscreen. I mean, you'd be jumping into things like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I'll kind of explain what those are as we go, and I'll show you the EX2, in a different video. So you can see badged on the back, and then I'll point out also that you can see you do have a backup camera right here, and it is badged on the back there too. And of course, I'm here at Howdy Honda. They're letting me shoot this video. So let's pop open the trunk and show you a couple things, and we'll kind of go from there. All right, so in the trunk of this vehicle, the first thing I'll point out, as you can see, it does come with carpeted floor mats, so they're sitting right here in the trunk, because that's where they keep them before they install them in this car. So it's just nice to know. Sometimes when you're looking at new vehicles, they don't always come with that, especially in base models. You do have a trunk release right here if you want to flip the whole thing down. So it's not a 60-40 split. This is a single. You'd want to climb models if you wanted that 60-40 split. And then in here, this is one thing I don't like about hybrids here in Texas, but it comes with the classic setup. You've got a little bit of storage here, and then you've got a tire repair kit. So you've got a pump there, and then it comes with a canister that's probably propped underneath that. I mean, you can't always purchase a spare tire and throw it in here, but then you're giving up some of the space of your trunk. So it's just something to keep in mind if you're looking at any of the Honda hybrids. They are always going to be set up not with a spare, a donut or anything like that, but strictly a tire repair kit. And I believe that's related to as far as savings, as far as weight and different things of that nature. So 151 horsepower under the hood, 6 airbags, 2 front, 2 side, and then 2 full curtain airbags. And then you have all the Honda sensing setup, which I'll go over as far as safety features to help you out in the car. So a good amount of safety in this vehicle. Real quick, I'll just kind of roll you down this. And that way, if there's anything that I miss, you can always pause it and check it out. But I'll go over most of this as we're in the car too. A lot of these features. Your starting MSRP down there with the destination included is gonna be right there. This is what I was mentioning earlier. This is about almost over 20 miles per gallon better than a Honda Civic, and this is 7. So you're really picking this car up inside the city is where you're making up that gas mileage if you're considering something like this. And then your overall crash rating is a 5-star, so just so you can see that. So let's open up the back here. Oop, let me unlock it real quick here, and we'll look into the back seat and kind of go over that too. All right, so in the back of the car, this is a white finish with a black interior, and it's just a standard cloth interior. It seats 3 in the back, and of course, it has all your spots for, your classic setups for, your anchors and your tethers for car seats. So you can see the spacing right here. I have the seat pushed all the way back, and I can sit behind myself, so I'm a 6-footer. So you would be fine from that standpoint. But if I was taking, an incredibly long trip and I had somebody big right behind another big person, would it be comfortable? It might get questionable. But you might, if you're taking really long trips, maybe you're looking at a Honda Accord hybrid. I don't know. So as we start up inside the car, you've got your window controls, your auto driver and passenger window controls, your window locks, your door locks, and then your mirror controls. And then right here is your trunk release. Down underneath, you'll see you have a hood release right here too. And then your gas release is right here. So all your releases are right within a one-hand's reach. So it is not a powered seat here. So since we're in the entry-level model, if you want to raise the seat up, you'll pull. If you want to lower it, you'll push here. This adjusts the backing of the seat. And then you've got a bar down here to slide it forward and backwards. So let's go ahead and hop in the car and get her cranked up and show you a couple things. All right, so it is a push-button start. If you were looking for smart key entry where you could walk up and just, grab the door handle and it automatically unlock for you, that would also be in the EX model. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a standard setup here. If you were climbing a model, you'd get the touchscreen, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, where I could plug in my phone, put my messages, mapping, any of that stuff on the touchscreen, versus the simple entry-level model comes with just a basic setup. So this is pretty classic for what a base model is in any Honda. This is typically the display. All right, so moving on to the right side. You saw the gas button right here. Below that is vehicle stability assist. So this works with your traction control. If you go in the event that you go into a skid, it'll help transfer power to the left or right, whichever wheel is getting better traction to help correct for a skid. And then above that is related to the Honda sensing features. So when I press this button, it's going to pull up a menu screen up here, and then I can toggle to make sure these are. So my road departure mitigation and collision mitigation are on. Now what these are is road departure mitigation. If I start to drive off the shoulder of the road, it'll give me an audible alert, and then it'll actually shake the wheel to say, hey, wake up, pay attention. You're drifting off the side of the road. And then collision mitigation braking system is a really fancy way of saying, hey, if it's looking like I'm going to rear in another car or hit somebody head on, first it'll give me an audible alert, it'll flash in the dash, and then it'll actually start to apply the brakes to help prevent the accident, under the assumption that maybe something has happened to me, I've been distracted. You can fill in the blank with whatever that may be. So really cool feature from that standpoint. And this is just a quick way to hop over to that. You can also access it off the steering wheel, which I'll show you here in just a second. Now right above that is your trip. So if I want to jump through trips and see them down here, so you can see them toggling through. This car's got 16 miles on it, and then my trip A and trip B, right? And then if I want to adjust the brightness, you can see me messing with that. I'm using this right here. All right, so on to the steering wheel. So the steering wheel, probably the most useful side is going to be right here, or going to get used the most, just because this controls a lot of different features. The home button right here allows you to access the menu screen up here, because this is digital on this side and then analog on this side, meaning you can change the display on this side, just not that one. So if I scroll to the very top here, I'll kind of start you off and show you, if you just want a simple gauge that's showing you as you build up a charge, and then of course giving you, further description of, hey, how are your driving habits and what you're doing, there you go. Now below that is the Eco Drive mode. So this will just give you an idea of if it's moving forward into the green, you're driving in a way that's going to affect your gas mileage in a positive way or in a negative. So this is a little bit more interactive way to view your driving. Down below that, power flows. This is one of my favorite features, especially when I was taking test drives with customers, because what it'll do is it'll connect lines. You'll see a green line here and there, and it'll show you in what mode you're driving in. So whether it's strictly gas, whether it's gas and electric, the hybrid mode, or purely electric when you're using that. So it's a really cool way to view the driving of the car, and it gives you a better understanding of how it mechanically works, so that you can take the most advantage of it and really push the gas mileage if you want. So that's what this screen is determined for. And let's see if I can... If I throw on the EV button, will show. Yeah, so if I throw on the EV button, it's not going to give me a display there. It's just going to tell me EV button is going to flip over to purely electric, and then I'm going to turn that off. And that way you can run, and that's right here, the EV button. It'll run off purely electric mode off the charge you have, and then when it runs out, it'll just flip back over to either gasoline or the hybrid mode. So that's what this button is right here. So as we continue here on the menu screen, if I scroll down another one, range and fuel. So this is just some MPG tripometer information right here. And then of course you can get some more if you want current, previous trips, that sort of thing. If I scroll one down below that, speed and time, this is just additional. Chances are if you're in this hybrid, you're really looking at performance and trying to, accurately figure out, hey, am I saving on gas mileage and different things like that. So they're giving you a lot of different ways to view it, which I really like, because if you want the analytics, then you can have it. Now the traffic signs, this is a really cool feature. What it does is, earlier I was pointing out that cutout up in the glass where it showed, that's where that camera is right here. And what it does is, not only does it work with my safety features as I'm going down the road, but it'll detect any street signs that I pass. So if I pass like a roadwork sign where they've lowered the speed limit, it'll pick it up and it'll throw it right on there for me. It's really cool. So when I'm driving down the road, while my navigation may work and it may tell me, what the speed limit should be on that road, it doesn't really connect with roadwork signs, right? So this is really cool because it'll pick them up as you're driving down. So that way you don't end up in a speed zone and end up in a speed trap and kind of hurt yourself when it comes to that, for not realizing that you're speeding. So really cool feature. Down below that, driver support. So, this is just related to some of the Honda sensing features we went over earlier. And then moving down another one, driver attention monitor. This would be like, if I'm using all these different features, it can be correcting and keeping me centered in the steering wheel with some of the features. It'll be using my braking and gas for the adaptive cruise control. After a point, if I'm not doing much of the control of the car, it's going to alert me to be like, hey, just making sure you're still there, that kind of thing. So that's really all it's for. This car isn't autonomous driving, but it can do a lot for you to where you could easily, get a little bit tired, get a little bit, because you're not doing that much. So just be aware of that. And then maintenance, this will give your oil life right here. When you get down to 15%, it'll give you an audible alert, and then it'll actually show you something there, and it'll give you a code A1, A2, or B1 or B2. Is that way, before you even come to the dealership, you can look it up and see exactly what they're going to recommend to you when you get here. So that way, if you feel like, hey, I don't know if I'm being oversold something or this or that, you can say, hey, this is what the Honda recommended is, and you can look up in the manual, or you can look up Honda codes. They've been doing it for years. You can look it up online, and it'll pull up in several forums in different places. Down below that, safety support. So this is the same screen that we were accessing earlier using this button right here. So I've just accessed it using the home button and then scrolling down to get to this. So you can see that both of those are on, and that was the road departure mitigation in the vehicle collision mitigation braking system, if I get that word out. And then settings, if you want to go through here and play with some different stuff, you absolutely can. So it just gives you that ability to do so, whether it be your tire pressure monitoring system, your driver assisted setup, your meter setup, lighting setup, door setup. This would probably be the most commonly accessed one, because your door locks on how you want to set them. Right now, it's set when I hit 10 miles an hour, it automatically lock the doors. And I have a couple options I can change that to. And I'm going to jump out of that, and then you can go to your unlock mode. So let me go down to one to unlock, and this would be where when I open the driver's side door, this is the default setting I'm describing. It'll then unlock the remaining doors of the car. If I wanted to change that, I could change it to all these options here, or I could turn it completely off. So this is just how to affect the door locks in the car. I know a lot of times that's something that they may or may not go through when you're taking delivery of the car, and especially if it's during a time like now where COVID's kind of playing a role where they can't do a really strong delivery. This is info you're probably going to need. So that's under the vehicle settings. So back out of that. Down to the warnings. This would be like if I left the trunk open or I left the door open, it would just give me an alert here. So that's kind of the menu screen that you're seeing here. Whole lot of different information I can provide myself with if I wanted. Now, over to the other side, pretty self-explanatory. You can see I've got my gas gauge over to the far right and then my speedometer. Now actually, let's stay here because I have a couple other things. Your volume controls are right here. How I was scrolling through those menus right here, and then I press down to select. My source button will switch any of my audio options. So let me turn that on. If I press source, to jump between FM, AM, USB, Bluetooth, whatever I have connected up. Right now, I don't have anything connected, so it's just FM and AM. So let me turn that back down here off the steering wheel. Now, below that is going to be your Bluetooth control. So to answer a call, to hang up a call, and use voice command. So voice command meaning like, hey, call so-and-so, that sort of thing. So pretty basic and easy to understand as far as this. And then this also works as a back button. As you can see, the notification right there to move back a screen. So that's if you were in here and you got into the wrong screen. Let's say I was like, oh, I clicked on this one. I didn't want to do that. Click your back button. Or excuse me. Yeah. Can I click my back button? No. So actually, nix that. You would just, hit your home button again and jump back up. I'm thinking a different model here, so ignore that. That would be only related to Bluetooth. Now, onto the other side here, we've got your controls, 2 additional Honda sensing controls here. So if you hit the main button, you're going to see ACC and LKS come up. So ACC stands for Adaptive Cruise Control, and LKAS stands for Lane Keep Assist. Adaptive Cruise Control is a standard cruise control settings, but it uses that sensor down in the Honda grill emblem and this camera up here to detect the cars in front of you. So once I've set my speed, right, from there, I'd be able to drive, and I can set the distance it'll keep between me and any cars it comes up on in front of it. So if I set it to 70 and I come up on a guy going 55, with this, it's selecting distance it's going to keep between me and that car. So it'll come up, it'll pick up that car, and then it'll select my distance, and it'll slow my car down using the cruise control until I've got out from around them, cleared out that space, and then it'll take me back up to my designated speed. So this really prevents you from having to like turn it off, turn it on, or cancel, resume, or slow it down, speed it up. So you can take a long road trip, set it to 70, cruise the whole way, and it'll do all the adjusting for you. Now, if you just want a classic cruise control, no big deal. Press and hold this button. A couple seconds, and it'll flip over and say cruise mode selected, and then press it again. It'll flip back to adaptive cruise control. So that's using the button right here. Now, Lane Keep Assist is using this button right here. If I select this button, you're going to see 2 dotted lines appear. So what it does is it uses the camera up in here to detect the lines down on the road. And as you're going, you have to go over 45 for this feature to work. And a caveat, since I am in a little bit of a rain right now, is if I have the windshield wipers on, it's not going to allow this feature to work. So it's going to force you to then really pay attention and drive. But how it works is it'll pick up the lines on the road, and if I start to drift to the left or the right out of the lines, it'll correct for me and keep me centered. It's real subtle. It's not hard to overtake. And if you're one of those people who doesn't use your blinker very often, maybe this will annoy you, but I would encourage you to, of course, use your blinker because the rest of the world will appreciate it. And 2, it's really set up there just to prevent you from you split your coffee on yourself, your dog jumped on you, your kid, something happened to them, and you got distracted and the wheel started to pull a little bit to the left or the right. This is there to prevent you from, going into that car next to you or into that lane. So that's the function of this feature. So that's lane keep assist. All right, so that's kind of the standard setup over here and here. You do have paddle shifting, so you can downshift and upshift. The really play in this car would probably be the downshifting would get used more because you can use regenerative braking to build that charge back up in the car. So what that means is that if I'm going 50 and I'm coming up and I can see that they're already stopped, I can downshift, 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 and it'll actually slow the car down. And when it's slowing the car down, it's building that charge and doing so. It's kind of a cool system that it allows the car to do, and it allows you to control it some too. So that's probably the best function for these right here. Now over here, you can see it does come with auto on-off headlights, and then if you move to the other side, you got your windshield wiper controls. Just pull down to set them, and they are intermittent, even on the base model, which you don't always find in some of the Honda vehicles. So it's kind of cool. Now, moving over to the display screen, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier just to give you an idea. You know, my radio, FM and AM, and then my media, so USB, Bluetooth, Pandora compatibility. That'd be if I had my phone plugged into the USB, or I could go, you know, wirelessly to Bluetooth. So either one will work. So different options to access this info. If you wanted a little bit, you know, a larger screen that was a touchscreen layout with some buttons down the side, you would want to climb up to the next model up. And that's where you find Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, where you can plug in your phone, access your music, your messages, you know, a lot more info. It gives you just more connectivity through the car. And for $2 extra, I'd probably encourage it. But if you want a classic setup, because some people really do like just a simple point A to point B car, and they really want something that's easy to understand and use, this is perfectly fine. You'll be able to receive your phone calls off of it, listen to the radio, listen to things through the USB, whether it be a thumb drive or, collecting, songs off of whatever the device may be, a phone, a Bluetooth, MP3 player, or whatever. Your power button's right here. Jumping between tracks would be right here. I will point out there is no CD. It gives you this kind of illusion that there's still a CD slot there, right? I think just for the comfort of people, but there's nothing there. So you don't have a CD player in this vehicle. It doesn't exist even in the base model. So that's not a cost feature. That's just a Honda doesn't offer them in almost any car, I don't think, anymore. So be aware of that. Now over on the other side, this will access your Bluetooth options. If you've never connected up, this will allow you to do so. And you scroll down, hit yes, turn your Bluetooth on, and then search for your phone. So I'm gonna back out of that screen. If you've already connected up one phone before and you needed to add an additional phone, you could go into the menu here, and then you could scroll down through your options and go to your settings, and then go to Bluetooth setup and set up an additional phone. So this is like you're setting up a spouse's phone, friend, family member, whoever it may be. Maybe your dog has a phone, I don't know. So just some different things you can do from there. And then this is your equalizer, so changing bass, mids, you know, all that stuff. If you want to play with that stuff, you absolutely can. So very simple display, very easy to understand and usable. Oh, and then up here, I didn't touch on this, but this is just your dimmer. So that's what this is. Now down below that, you do have a digital display on your AC. It's a single version, so it's not left and right separate of each other. It's just one AC. So hot or cold, how much air and where you want that air to go, and then your defrost additionally too. So you do get rear defrost in your mirrors in this car, which is kind of cool because you don't always see that on base models. Now down below that, you'll see that you do have a USB and then a power outlet here. So if you want to plug something in, you absolutely can. And then over here, it's not a classic shifter, it's buttons, which throws some people off initially, but it's pretty easy to understand. I mean, you throw it in reverse, it lights up and lets you know, and then a dead giveaway is your backup camera would throw on. And you've got some different views on this backup camera. So if you press the button right here, it'll switch over. So wide angle, 170 degree look at what's around you. Standard classic backup camera, and then this one's aimed straight down. So you can see the edge of the bumper right here. So 6 inches from the car, and then if you're parallel parking, you want their bumper to be on the other side of this line. And those same two lines are in all of these displays. But they're the most useful in this one just because if you're backing up to another car, a garage, a bush, a pole, whatever it may be, maybe you're in a parking garage, this is really going to be helpful to make sure you don't hit anything. So nice that even a base model would come with 3 different pictured views and a really nice display. It's just real clear and clean and crisp. So great there. Moving back down to this, you've got neutral, your drive, your parking brake right here. So it's electronic to set it, put your foot on the brake and lift up. You'll actually be able to hear it come on. I know I was talking right there, but you can tell. And then you do get an additional indicator right here. So that's your parking brake. And then to turn it off, it's pretty easy. It's the same thing. Just put your foot on the brake, press down, and it releases. Now your brake hold button right here. What this is set up for is if you're in stop and go traffic. So how it works is I have the car in drive. I press the brake hold button, and you're going to see brake hold appear here, and then it's going to say brake hold and say hold right there, so you can see where it says hold. Now what it's doing is while the car's in drive, it's going to hold the brake for me, so I can take my foot off the pedal. So I have nothing on the pedal and I'm not moving. And then when I touch the gas, it'll start to move forward, and then when I come to a complete stop again, you'll notice now it's holding again. I can release my foot. So if I was in a bunch of stop and go traffic, where this really plays a great role, it is just that. So it's like I don't have to keep my foot on the gas brake, and play the game. I can relax and just let it hold for me. Because I know if anybody's been in really bad traffic, everybody's come to that stop where they just shift it into park and sit and wait and then go. Or if you catch a really long light. So brake hold really works for that exact scenario. Now, your center console right here is cool. It's sliding, so I like this. That way, if you're a smaller person, you have to, slide your seat up. You can still be able to use this with your elbow. And then inside, you've got, simple cup holders, and then you can drop it down to a really large cup holder. So that way, if you had a big water bottle or anything that you carry around regularly, this kind of plays a role and helps you out. And then this does additionally open, so I can pull it back, and then you can see back here, I've got some storage down in here, and actually got this little rubber mat that's in the bottom, which is really cool. I like that they do that just because it's a very simple thing to keep kind of crud from getting in the bottom of your vehicle. And then slide it back forward. And they also do the same thing here. So I've got the same thing, a nice little rubber mat I can set my phone on, and it does have this mat here that I can pull out. It's got a little tab there, which I might be able to get it out. I don't know if I can do this one-handed, but yeah. So it's got little legs that holds in, so I'm not going to pull it completely out, but it's just nice that they do that versus just having plastic where everything slides around. Now, interior is, of course, a cloth interior. If you climbed up a model, that would be the same too. But depending on the exterior of the car, you might have some different options as far as color interiors. Now, the tops are always going to be black, and your dash is always going to be black, and that's to prevent glare. And then along with that, the floorboard is always going to be that black or charcoal color, and that's to prevent dirt and dust from showing. So you're always going to have that, but your interior may be a different color. Now, classic mirror setup, and then what I call just general new car stuff, vanities and stuff like that, mapping lighting, and all of that nature. So let's go on a test drive for this car. So hang tight. We'll go on the drive. I'll go over the features in the next model up and whether I think it's worth it and how much it is to jump up that model. So stay tuned. Let's jump over to a test drive and check out some safety features. We'll check to make sure all of these work and kind of go from there. All right. What's going on, guys? Justin Fuller, and I am sitting inside of this 2021 Honda Insight. Of course, this is the LX, so this is your entry-level model. So a little bit ago, we just went over kind of the exterior and the interior functions and kind of how menus and different screens work, and now we're going to go for a test drive. So the first thing I'm going to point out is it's a hybrid, so it's always an interesting get-off. I don't drive a ton of hybrids, so I love that they're so quiet. When you initially crank them on, you're like, is it on? Which is always a fun game, and especially if you've ever taken a test drive with anybody or gone on a test drive, it's kind of a fun thing because it's not exactly what you expect. So I'm gonna give it some gas here coming off this stop sign and see if we can get up to highway speeds pretty quick here. So let's give it some gas and see what she does. So you can hear the CVT, you can hear it really revving up. I'm up to 40, I'm up to 50, and I'm gonna let up the gas a little bit, but I'm at 60. So as far as using, the horsepower that you have, which is about 20 less than the standard Civic, and I compared to the Civic a lot just for the sizing, and it falls in that category of price range that's a little bit closer to that. But it is a hybrid, and as far as the world of hybrids go, this is probably one of the most affordable hybrids you can get in, especially for the size and what you're getting offered. So this one is right over the 24 mark, including the destination. So your 24,230 is your MSRP. Then you can work from there with the dealership to figure out what they can do for you as far as savings go. From what I can remember, the savings on this is there's about $1,500 roughly, and then it would be any kind of dealer cash or things like that that would come into play as far as what they can offer you and any kind of interest rate if you're going through Honda or if you're going through your own bank or credit union. So I'm not going to touch too much on that, but just give you kind of some general ideas. So as we come around this corner, I'm going to get my lane keep assist set up, and then I'm also going to get my adaptive cruise control running here in just a second because I want to test these features and see how they're working. Never had an issue with them in the past. They work on almost every vehicle I hop in, but I always like to test them and just make sure that they work well in this specific vehicle. So got the lane keep assist running. I'm going over 45, so all right, it's now actively reading the roads. So if I let my hands off the steering wheel and we start to drift, it's actually correcting for me and keeping me centered in my lane, which is a really awesome feature. So I'm gonna put my hands back on the steering wheel here, just because I do have a little bit of traffic around me and I want to be safe. Now, secondarily here, I'm going to hop on the highway here in just a second so I can use the adaptive cruise control settings. What that's going to allow me to do is to set my speed, and then from there, it'll adjust for me. So if somebody gets in front of me or behind me, or excuse me, not behind me, but in front of me, it'll allow me to keep distancing that I set between me and the car in front of me. So I'm getting up to my speed here. Let me get going a little faster, and we'll set it. So, all right, I got it set, and what's really cool is it picked up the street sign we just passed, letting me know that the speed limit is only 55 on this, so that way I don't get myself in trouble, but I am hopping up to highway speed, so perfectly. I have it set to 66 right now, and I'm actually not even going that. I'm going about 55 because a van just hopped in front of me, so it's keeping that designated spacing that I picked, which I'm actually going to lessen up so I can pick up some speed here and close that gap, just because cars will keep jumping in front of me in this part of town, just because it is a highly trafficked area. As I hop over here, same thing, it's going to pick up this truck in front of me and create that spacing. So the Honda sensing features in this car work fantastic, especially the ones that you're going to use actively on your everyday drive, whether it be lane keep assist or your adaptive cruise control, depending on what kind of trip you're taking. I'm guessing you do probably a good amount of driving if you're considering this vehicle. While we're talking about that, 55, I think, was what the city was, and then I believe it's 49 on the highway. So comparing to like a Civic, this is fantastic. You're getting over 20 extra miles in the city driving this car around being a hybrid. And then on the highway, it's only about a 7-8 mile difference. So from that standpoint, if you're doing all highway driving all the time, you could buy a Civic, save yourself some money, not land in a hybrid, and still be doing pretty well. Now, if you're just looking to make a lower carbon footprint, no big deal. You're just spending a little extra money to do that, but over the long run, will you probably make up some of it? Absolutely you will. But you're probably looking at, 5-7 years later before you really see, hey, I've broke even by spending that extra money and now I'm saving money. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about savings on a hybrid. There's a lot of, different things out there on the internet you can look at and kind of check to see, hey, how long does it take me to break even or B to save money? Just something to be aware of. It's out there if you want to check it out. Now, as far as the ride quality goes, it's a good ride. About the size of a Civic, as I mentioned too many times at this point. But what I would say is, as far as the ride quality goes, it's a nice smooth ride. I'm cruising down the road here. It's not super loud in the cabin, so I wouldn't mind taking a long road trip on this. I'm here in Austin, Texas, so if I wanted to drive 3 hours and be to Dallas or Houston or head towards the coast, I'd be perfectly okay to do that and I'd be fine. Like I wouldn't feel uncomfortable or anything like that. Even if I had passengers in the back, you've got a good amount of space. As a 6-footer, I can sit behind myself and be just perfectly comfortable. And assuming that I don't have 3 in the back seat, which that one I would say probably isn't going to be fantastically comfortable. But if you got 2 back there, you can take an easy trip and be just fine. And if it's kids, you would definitely be fine. So just something to keep in mind if you're looking at this and thinking, do I need this, or do I spend a little extra money and climb up to like an Accord hybrid or something of that size? Chances are you'd probably be fine unless you're actively going to always have 4 or 5 people in the car consistently. So just something to keep in mind. All right. So as we come around this corner, what I'm going to do is hop back on, and what I'll mention right here is just what the car has if you climb up a model. So if you're moving from the LX up to the EX, what are the things that you would gain? And those things would be that you would be gaining a touchscreen inside the car. Now, I really like that touchscreen for a couple different reasons. One, it allows you access to Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Where those features really come into play is that I can plug my phone in and access my mapping, my music, and then any other features that I would want to connect to through the phone. And then I would also have access off the steering wheel. So I would be able to press the voice command button and say, hey Siri, do this, do that, and the other. Pull up my navigation. And when it comes to navigation, you have access to Spotify, or excuse me, you have Google Maps, Waze, and of course Apple Maps if you're an Apple user too. So I like that they give you different options available to you too. Now, when it comes to audio, yeah, you'd have access to Spotify, Panda, or any of those things on the touchscreen. So I really like the ability to have those features. And to me, it's worth it to spend an extra $2,000 just alone to have those. Now, additionally, if you're looking for additional safety features like blind spot monitoring in your mirrors, that would also land in your EX. So something to keep in mind if you're thinking, hey, I might want to jump up for additional safety, that would be a great feature to have, especially if you see this car getting handed down maybe to a younger driver or somebody else in the future. So those two alone make it worth it to me. And then it's just, do I get an additional USB port down in the cubby hole in the center console? Things like that, I don't know that make or break anything specifically for me, but those other features are really big features in my personal opinion. So just something to keep in mind as you look at this car and maybe the model above it if you're wondering, hey, what am I getting by spending a little bit of extra money? But in the long run, if you are looking for an affordable hybrid that's not incredibly tiny like a hatchback or anything like that, or the size of maybe a Prius, this is a fantastic vehicle. For what it offers in the price range that it lands in, you're getting a vehicle that adds some space. You could actually put a family in it if you needed to, and you can get around town. And not only that, you can save money. And this is starting you up at the 24 and change price range. So when it comes to that, you're not looking at payments that are going to be so outrageous that it kind of pushes you out of even wanting to own a hybrid. So if you're looking to lower your carbon footprint, you're looking to get better gas mileage inside of the city, and you're looking for some additional safety features to keep you and maybe the family members in your car safe, this is a fantastic vehicle. My only knocks on this would be, I wish it had the display touchscreen that lands in the model above it, but I understand that they're going to make different trim levels to hit different price points. So with that said, fantastic vehicle, good ride. The road noise is minimal. The ride quality is fantastic. You've got a lot of additional safety features, 6 airbags in the car, 5-star overall crash rating, and I mean 55 in the city and 49 on the highway. I'm not mad at that. As far as horsepower, you're looking at, I believe, 151 horsepower, so 20 less than like a Honda Civic would be, but Am I really using that? If I'm buying this car, chances are I'm probably not looking to take off the line. I'm really just looking to make sure I can get up to speed, get on the highway, and be safe in the maneuvers that I do. With that said, that's just mine. That's, take it with a grain of salt. I just, I sold them for years and years and years, and now I still test drive and show them and explain them to people. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. You can always call or email me or comment on the YouTube video. While I'm talking about that, I'm gonna ask you to do a couple favors for me. One, like the video. Two, comment. Let me know what you think. If you like it, you hate it, you love it, whatever it may be, or if you wish I would go over something additionally, or you want to see something in the future, let me know that too. Outside of that, if you want to call or text me, my cell is 737-443-9555. So feel free to reach out to me, whether it's a call or text. Or if you want to email me a question that you have, JF and then _1064@Yahoo. So that's an easy way to reach me too. Or you can comment on the YouTube video. I'm always, checking in and popping on there, and I'll answer your questions. And if you need help, it's something I'm there to do. Other than that, I just want to say thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe. I hope you like the video. And other than that, we'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.